before you do anything today, before you check your phone, before you scroll through your feed, before you run to the coffee maker or let the weight of yesterday crawl into today. I want you to pause and recognize the power that lies in the first few moments of your morning, because how you start your day is how your day will start moving. Your morning determines your momentum. You've got to understand that your mind doesn't just wake up ready. Your spirit doesn't just rise up by itself. You've got to command your day. You've got to take control of your atmosphere before the atmosphere takes control of you. And if you leave your morning to chance, the rest of your day will be a gamble. But if you step into it with intention, with vision, and with order, you won't just survive your day. You'll own it. See, some of you are living reactive lives instead of proactive ones. The alarm clock rings and immediately you're reacting. You're reacting to time, you're reacting to pressure, you're reacting to people's expectations. You wake up into warfare, but you didn't prepare in peace. And when you step into your day already feeling behind, already feeling late, already anxious, already stressed, you're not leading the day. The day is leading you, but let me teach you something. God never designed the day to master you. He gave you dominion. He gave you the power to speak over your environment. He gave you the authority to shape your habits, direct your emotions, and decide your mindset. You've got more power than you think, but power unused is power lost. Power ignored is power wasted. Power untrained becomes chaos. That's why your morning matters. The moment you wake up, your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant, it will grow. So if you plant negativity, I hate this job, I don't feel like it today, I'll never get ahead, you're sowing seeds that will produce fruit all day long. But if you plant gratitude, if you plant structure, if you plant prayer, if you plant focus, then your spirit becomes fertile ground for progress. You've got to decide, what kind of seeds am I sowing every morning? Don't wait for inspiration to hit you later in the day. Start your day with intention, speak into the atmosphere, command your peace, bless your path, invite order, establish rhythm. You need a system that doesn't rely on how you feel but leans on who you are and where you're going. Because discipline is not about today, it's about tomorrow, and the habits you build in the morning become the tracks your life runs on. Now let me get practical. I'm not just preaching theory, I'm teaching truth. The most successful people, those walking in purpose, whether in faith, business, leadership, or service, they don't stumble into greatness, they schedule it. They don't wait for motivation to strike, they prepare for it. And it starts with a structured morning, it starts with a moment of stillness, it starts with the Word, it starts with journaling, it starts with breathing, stretching, praying, planning. Small disciplines done early prevent big disasters later. Because here chaos has a pattern, and so does peace. If every morning feels like a race, if you're constantly playing cat, chop, if you never get quiet enough to hear your own thoughts, then you are surrendering your potential to noise. You cannot build momentum in clutter. You cannot grow in confusion. Order brings clarity, and clarity brings movement, and movement, purposeful movement, is momentum. Some of you are waiting on a breakthrough later in the year, later in your career, later in your journey. But your breakthrough is sitting in your morning routine. It's not that you don't have vision. It's that you don't have rhythm. You've been given the same 24 hours as everyone else. The difference between you and the person living at their highest potential is not talent. It's tempo. It's morning mastery. It's the decision to lead the day instead of follow it. So I challenge you. Don't start your morning in reaction. Start it in revelation. Don't let the world set the tone for your day. You set the tone. Don't grab your phone before you grab your focus. Don't check email before you check in with your spirit. Don't start scrolling before you've started growing, because how you spend your first hour will tell the rest of your hours how to behave. Momentum doesn't start on the outside. It starts in the secret places. It starts in your thoughts, in your routines, in your attitude. And if you can win your morning, you can win your day. If you can win your day, you can win your week. And when you stack enough winning weeks together, you will start seeing the hand of God not just in your life, but through your life. It all begins with the morning. So before you do anything today, pause. Breathe, pray, plan, speak, believe, and move, because your morning determines your momentum. We live in a world that teaches us to follow our hearts, to trust our feelings, to move with whatever emotion rises first. But the truth is, your emotions are indicators, not decision makers. Emotions were never meant to drive the car. They were meant to sit in the passenger seat. And if you let your feelings take the wheel, don't be surprised when they drive you off course. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is emotion-led. Response is wisdom-led. And one of the clearest signs of spiritual maturity, mental strength, and purpose-driven living is learning how to pause when your emotions want to push. You don't have to act on every feeling that comes to your doorstep. You don't have to answer every thought that knocks on your mind. You don't have to let your momentary emotions define your long-term direction. Feelings are real, yes, but they're not always true. You can feel discouraged and still be right on the edge of your breakthrough. You can feel unqualified and still be the perfect person for the assignment. You can feel angry and still choose peace. You can feel tired and still keep moving. That's the power of decision over emotion, and that's the place where discipline is born. Let me teach you something. Your feelings are temporary, but your decisions are permanent. The choice you make in 5 seconds of emotion can affect 5 years of your life. One emotional response can ruin a relationship. One angry reaction can destroy your witness. One impulsive moment can delay your destiny. That's why we don't just teach faith. We teach wisdom, because faith without discipline is frustration. So many people sabotage their own future because they've never learned how to separate emotion from principle. Just because you feel offended doesn't mean you need to respond offensively. Just because you feel overwhelmed doesn't mean you have to quit. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you should freeze. Growth happens when you realize that you are more than your emotions. You are not your sadness. You are not your insecurity. You are not your rage. You are a soul with power over what passes through your heart. The Word of God says, "He that rules his spirit is greater than he that takes a city." That means self. Mastery is a higher form of leadership than external conquest, because you can conquer the world and still be a prisoner of your own emotions. You can sit in the corner office and still not know how to sit with your own feelings. But when you learn to rule your spirit, when you learn to choose calm over chaos, when you learn to say, "This is how I feel, but it's not how I'll act," you've just stepped into a level of authority the enemy can't touch. Let me be clear. Emotions aren't evil, they're not bad, they're human, they're God-given, but they are meant to be processed, not obeyed. Don't suppress them, sort them, don't ignore them, investigate them. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? What's really underneath this emotion? Is this feeling rooted in truth or trauma? Is it based on facts or fear? When you start asking those questions, you move from emotional to intentional. Some of you keep going in circles, not because you lack talent, not because you lack opportunity, but because you keep making decisions from your emotional state instead of your educated mind. You keep quitting too soon. You keep saying things you regret. You keep burning bridges you were supposed to build on. Why? Because you haven't mastered the pause, that sacred pause, that moment between what you feel and what you do. That's where power lies. That's where leadership lives. That's where maturity is formed, and hear me, emotions are loud, but wisdom is quiet. Emotions demand attention, but wisdom waits for invitation. So if you want to lead your life, not just live it, if you want to grow, not just go through, then you've got to train your ear to listen to the still, small voice of truth inside, even when your feelings are screaming. You have to be able to tell your emotions, you don't run this house, you don't decide my destiny, you don't speak louder than my purpose. That's what Jesus did in the garden. He felt sorrowful, he felt troubled. He said, "If it be possible, let this cup pass from me." But then came the power, "Nevertheless, not my will but thy will be done." That's the pivot. That's the point where emotion bows to purpose. So before you make that call, before you send that message, before you walk away, before you say, "I'm done," before you decide, "I can't do this," pause, breathe, ask yourself, am I making this decision from wisdom or emotion, from fear or from faith, from pain or from purpose? Because when you stop letting emotions sit on the throne of your life, you create room for clarity. And when clarity enters, peace follows, order follows, success follows, and the person you were created to be, the strong, wise, focused, powerful you finally has room to rise. Make this your declaration. Today, I choose to lead with wisdom. I will not let how I feel decide what I do. I will pause, reflect, and respond. My emotions may visit, but they do not own me. I am led by truth, not by turmoil. And my destiny will not be delayed by a temporary feeling. Now go, walk in that truth, and make decisions that match your destiny. Every morning, before your feet touch the ground, before you brush your teeth, before you even check the time, something invisible but very real begins to stir inside you. A battle between what you believe and what you're afraid of. Faith and fear both want to talk to you, but only one of them deserves your attention. The question is, which one are you feeding? You have to understand something deep and unshakable. What you feed will live. What you starve will die. If you feed your fears by constantly entertaining worst case scenarios, by living in anxiety, by meditating on what might go wrong, those fears will grow teeth. They'll bite into your confidence. They'll chew up your peace and they'll swallow your destiny whole. But if you feed your faith, by remembering what God said, by declaring His promises, by choosing truth over panic, your faith will begin to rise. It will stand up strong, push back the darkness, and take back your mind. Faith isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build, one choice at a time, and fear isn't just an emotion. It's a mindset. It's a spiritual parasite that feeds off your imagination. It exaggerates, it distorts, it whispers, "What if?" until you forget who you are and whose you are. That's why Scripture tells us over and over, do not fear. Not because fear won't come knocking, but because you have the power to decide whether it gets a seat at the table. See, fear talks loud. Fear has a voice. It says you're not good enough. You'll never make it. It's too late. What if you fail? And if you listen to it long enough, you'll start to believe it's the truth. But faith also has a voice, and faith says, "If God be for me, who can be against me? Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. I was born for this. I am chosen. I am equipped. I am not alone." But here's the truth most people don't want to face. You can't feed both at the same time. You can't fuel faith and fear with the same mouth. You can't say, "I trust God," and in the same breath say, "I'm doomed." You've got to choose your diet. Because your spiritual health is tied to what you consume. Think about it. If the first thing you do in the morning is open your phone and scroll through fear-driven headlines, social media comparison, or toxic conversations, you're not just wasting time. You're feeding fear. And when fear is full, it starts driving your decisions. It tells you not to try, not to trust, not to risk, not to believe. But if you start your day with prayer, with the Word, with silence, with gratitude, with declarations of truth, you are feeding your faith. You're training your spirit to rise above your situation. Let me be practical. Feeding your faith means doing things that align with what you believe, even when your emotions aren't on board. It means getting up and showing up. It means doing what's right when what's easy is whispering in your ear. It means remembering past victories when current problems feel overwhelming. It means guarding your ears, your eyes, and your heart like your future depends on it, because it does. Feeding your faith also means surrounding yourself with the right voices, because sometimes it's not the devil that's holding you back, it's the voices you've allowed too close. Some people will feed your fear with doubt, worry, gossip, and negativity. But faith requires a new circle, people who speak life, people who remind you who you are when you forget, people who push you toward purpose when you feel like shrinking, because your environment is a buffet and you've got to choose what you're eating. Let's talk scripture. Romans 10:17 says, "Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God." That means if you want more faith, you need more word. You can't expect to walk in power if you're living on spiritual junk food. You've got to feast on truth. You've got to let the promises of God get down deep in your bones until they become the loudest voice in your head. And don't forget, fear is natural, but it doesn't have to be normal. Even the strongest believers feel it. Moses felt fear when God called him. Esther felt fear when she approached the king. Jesus felt anguish in the garden, but what made them powerful wasn't the absence of fear. It was their decision to feed their faith anyway. So today, ask yourself, what am I feeding? What am I focusing on? What am I allowing into my spirit before I even walk out the door? Because whatever grows inside of you is going to lead the rest of your day. And if you want to walk in purpose, you can't afford to let fear run your schedule. Faith is a choice. It's not always a feeling. You may not feel courageous, but you can act courageous. You may not feel strong, but you can stand anyway. You may not feel qualified, but if God has called you, you are enough. Feed that truth, starve that fear, and watch what happens when your faith starts gaining weight. Some of the things standing in your way right now aren't meant to stop you. They are meant to stretch you. The enemy isn't after your house, your car, or your reputation. He's after your assignment. Because if he can frustrate your focus, if he can magnify your obstacle, if he can wear you down before you ever start walking in purpose, he knows you'll never step into the impact God designed you to make. That's why you've got to learn to see differently. You've got to know in your spirit, my assignment is bigger than this obstacle. Yes, the obstacle is real. I'm not minimizing it. You've been through pain. You've faced delay. You've been overlooked, underestimated, betrayed, ignored, and the temptation is to make your pain your identity. The temptation is to sit down in the storm and say, "This must be the end of me." But I came to tell you, it's not the end. It's just a test, and the size of your obstacle is often a clue to the size of your calling. The pressure you feel is not proof of failure. It's proof that something bigger is about to be born. When God gives you an assignment, He doesn't promise ease. He promises presence. He doesn't say, "You'll never face resistance." He says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." You might still get attacked, but you won't be destroyed. You might still cry, but you won't collapse. Why? Because your assignment carries the weight of heaven behind it, and what's backed by heaven cannot be blocked by hell. So you've got to shift your mindset. Don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Every obstacle is a classroom. Every barrier is a book. Every delay is a development opportunity. Sometimes the pain you're praying away is the very pressure God is using to prepare you. He's teaching you endurance. He's developing your character. He's stretching your capacity, because where you're going requires more strength than where you've been. But listen, don't let the difficulty fool you. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not holy. Some assignments come wrapped in resistance. Some callings come dressed in conflict. And if you judge your future by your frustration, you'll abandon the very thing God called you to do. You'll walk away from the ministry you were built for. You'll give up on the dream you were born with. You'll retreat when you were supposed to rise. You've got to see the obstacle for what it is, not a wall, but a workout, not a punishment, but preparation. God didn't bring you this far just to see you break down. He brought you here to build you. The stone that's standing in front of you today will be the platform you stand on tomorrow. The enemy tried to bury you, but he didn't know. You were a seed. So don't you dare quit. Don't you dare settle. Don't you dare scale down your dream just to make it easier to carry. Your assignment is still alive. Your purpose is still on schedule. And just because you don't see the whole picture doesn't mean God isn't painting it. You are right in the middle of the process, and God is too faithful to start something in you and not finish it. Let me teach you something. Obstacles don't cancel assignments, they confirm them. Ask Joseph. Thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, locked in prison, yet still called to save a nation. Ask Moses, rejected by his people, chased by Pharaoh, faced with a Red Sea, yet still called to lead them out. Ask David. Hunted by Saul, hiding in caves, running for his life, yet still anointed to be king. And ask Jesus, betrayed, beaten, mocked, crucified, yet still risen. The obstacle didn't cancel the assignment, it was part of it. But here's what separates those who fulfill their assignment from those who don't. They don't let the obstacle define the outcome. They keep showing up. They keep moving forward. They keep speaking truth. They keep obeying the voice of God, even when the circumstances scream otherwise. They understand that obedience is the bridge between the calling and the crown, and they refuse to let temporary trouble stop an eternal purpose. So what are you going to do? Are you going to stare at the obstacle until you forget the assignment? Or are you going to remind yourself why you started? Are you going to let fear freeze you or let faith fuel you? Are you going to allow the storm to shape your story, or are you going to rise up and walk through it? Head high, shoulders back, eyes fixed on purpose. Make no mistake. There will be battles, but you've been equipped. There will be resistance, but you've been prepared. There will be setbacks, but you've got a comeback spirit inside of you, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And what God put in you cannot be canceled by man, blocked by opinions, or stopped by opposition. Declare this today: my obstacle is real, but my assignment is greater. I will not bow to the pressure. I will not quit in the process. I will endure, I will grow, I will rise, because the one who gave me the calling will give me the power to carry it. You've spent too much of your life waiting for applause that may never come, chasing validation from people who don't understand your vision, and trying to convince folks to believe in you when God has already called you. You do not need everyone's approval to walk in your purpose. Let me say it clearly: you don't need to be liked, shared, reposted, praised, or accepted to be effective. Purpose isn't a popularity contest. It's a divine assignment, and heaven's endorsement is greater than man's opinion. Purpose starts with God. It was written before you were born. It was planted in you before anyone had an opinion about you. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." That means people's acceptance didn't start your purpose, so their rejection can't stop it. Their silence won't erase it. Their shade won't cancel it. Their disapproval won't delay it. You are not here to win approval. You are here to walk in obedience. Some of you are stuck, not because you don't know what to do, but because you're afraid of how people will respond. You're waiting for them to clap before you move. You're waiting for support before you start. But what if they never applaud? What if they never get it? What if they say you're too much, too different, too loud, too quiet, too bold, too soft? Do you give up your assignment to fit in with people who never created you? You don't need a committee to believe what God has whispered in your spirit. You don't need a crowd to confirm what heaven has declared over your life. Sometimes God will call you to move before anybody else sees what he's doing in you. Sometimes he'll hide you. Sometimes he'll isolate you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because if you need validation to function, the devil can always manipulate you with rejection. Let's be real. People are fickle. One day they shout Hosanna, the next day they scream crucify him. One day they'll post about you, the next day they'll ghost on you. So if your identity is built on the opinions of others, you'll live on a roller coaster of emotions, up when they love you, down when they don't. But purpose requires stability. Purpose requires self-awareness. Purpose requires knowing who you are in God, even when the room doesn't clap. That's why you must be delivered from the addiction to approval. That craving will kill your creativity. It will silence your voice. It will shrink your vision, because you'll start editing your assignment to make it more palatable to people who were never supposed to understand it in the first place. Hear me. God didn't call a conference when He called you. He didn't ask your family, your friends, or your followers for permission to bless you. He made a decision about you without anyone else's input, and He doesn't need a second opinion. Even Jesus didn't have universal approval. He was perfect, yet still persecuted. He healed, yet still hated. He came to save, yet still they crucified Him. So if Jesus couldn't please everybody, why are you still trying? Stop shrinking your light to make other people comfortable in the dark. Stop explaining your calling to people who don't have the language to understand it. Stop asking for permission to walk in what you were born for. Now, don't misunderstand me. God uses people. He uses wise counsel. He uses community. But there's a difference between confirmation and permission, and too many people confuse the two. Confirmation can encourage you, but it's not required to begin. Permission is something you already received when God breathed life into your lungs and said, "Go." Sometimes your obedience will offend the insecure. Sometimes your growth will expose their stagnation. Sometimes your elevation will trigger their silence, and that's okay. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be powerful. You're not here to conform. You're here to transform. You're not here to be accepted. You're here to be anointed. If David waited for his brother's approval, he would have never faced Goliath. If Noah waited for his neighbor's support, he would have never built the ark. If Esther waited for permission, she never would have stepped into the throne room. And if Jesus waited for acceptance, He never would have carried the cross. Your purpose is too heavy to be held hostage by people's opinions. So today, I challenge you, stop waiting for a seat at their table, when God has already prepared a table for you in the presence of your enemies. Stop asking for a stamp of approval from people who don't even know your blueprint. You were not made to be understood by everyone. You were made to be obedient to the one who made you. Walk in it anyway, speak it anyway, build it anyway, start it anyway, preach it anyway, write it anyway. Even if the room is silent, even if your inbox is empty, even if your post gets no likes, even if they roll their eyes, because your purpose is not tied to applause, it's tied to assignment. Declare this over yourself. I do not need everyone's approval to walk in my calling. I am validated by heaven. I am chosen, appointed, and equipped. I will not wait for claps. I will move by faith. I will obey the voice of God above the opinions of man, and I will fulfill my purpose with boldness, clarity, and power, because the one who called me is faithful. Before you walk out that door, before you turn the key, before you scroll through one more screen, pause and remind yourself, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Not because everything is perfect, not because you have all the answers, but because the one who holds the day also holds you. This day isn't just another line on the calendar, it's another opportunity to walk in purpose. It's another moment to choose faith over fear. It's another step toward the assignment God placed in your spirit before the foundation of the world. Don't waste it trying to impress people who were never meant to understand you. Don't forfeit your future by bowing to obstacles that were only meant to grow you. Don't measure your worth by likes, comments, or claps. You were approved by heaven long before they knew your name. The truth is, your day will meet resistance, but you were built for the battle. Your path may not be easy, but it's ordained. Your purpose is not a suggestion, it's a mandate. Your spirit was not made to shrink, it was made to soar. So walk out of your house like you were sent. Walk into your job like you were chosen. Handle your business like you were anointed for it. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to trust the one who already does. Lean into his word. Feed your faith, guard your mind, declare your identity. Speak to your obstacles, and move not with arrogance, but with confidence, because the one who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. So I say to you now, Wake up, child of God. Shake off the fear. Silence the noise. Lift your head. Straighten your shoulders, and step forward knowing this you were born for this moment. The world is waiting on what's in you. Don't delay it. Don't doubt it. Don't downplay it. Let today be the beginning of something unshakable, purpose-driven, spirit-led, heaven-backed. Now go and live this day on purpose.